The white people bully me for the way I talk, the way I dressed, and how I acted. And the black people bully me for the way I talk, the way I dressed, and how I acted. I saw this video recently where this guy was saying how he was exiled from his own race. And while I was watching the video, I saw a lot of ideas that I used to have when I was younger, but eventually ended up growing out of as I got more experience in life.
Because within the black community, if you do not adhere to the prescriptive ideas of what it means to be a black person, you're going to be tortured everywhere you go. Because everywhere you go, black people are going to view you and see you as an outsider. You're going to be labeled as whitewashed or an Uncle T, if you catch my drift, or they're going to call you a raccoon.
Basically in the video, the guy was saying because he's a black guy who doesn't conform to the stereotypical hood black person, he didn't fit in with the entire black race. He felt like the entire race had exiled him from being a part of it, which again is something I thought when I was younger, because like him, I got really heavily bullied when I was younger. I dealt with the same things, people making fun of me for the way I talk, the music I like to listen to, the shows I like to watch, all of the things in general. But I really had to come to a realization later in life that it wasn't because I was exiled from black people. It was because I hadn't found my tribe yet. And there was a certain tribe that was not going to accept me. It's really wild to me to generalize a whole race based off of a few people, which is something I had to come to the conclusion of too. Because like I said, when I heard this video, I heard a lot of the ideas I used to have. These were the exact same things that I used to think until I found black people who acted like me and accepted me for who I was. It's even funnier that I thought this way because I got bullied, like I said, but I didn't just get bullied by black people. I got bullied by white people too growing up. And arguably, the white people probably bullied me worse. Just so you have a better understanding of it, when I was in second grade, they came up with something in my class that was my first name in touch. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, basically they acted like whatever I touched, if I said something, whatever I did, was just disgusting. And not for any reason. I wasn't a dirty kid. I didn't cause trouble or anything like that. Basically, just pretty much to pick on me. And obviously, when I was younger, I didn't understand it to the full extent. But I do know how it made me feel during those times. Because I remember coming home talking about how nobody liked me, feeling like a complete outsider, wondering what I did to deserve this type of treatment. And all of this was a result of what white people did to me. I remember even younger than that, my mother just reminded me of this story where a white kid was throwing a birthday party. And I was excited to go, but he told me I couldn't go because black people can't come to this party. Now, funny enough, when I was younger and I heard that, I thought I was still invited because I'm brown. And obviously when I came home, I told my mom the story and she's like, he told you what? And then that's when they explained to me a little further. But I do still find it humorous to think of the naivety of a kid. And I think when you have these experiences early in life, you have to realize that a lot of the things that happen because of bullying is mainly because of the naivety of the kid, or sometimes just pure jealousy. But to fast forward a little bit, like I said, it's sixth grade, I got around more black people. They bullied me for the exact same things that the white people bullied me, just in a different way. The white people bullied me for the way I talked, the way I dressed, and how I acted. And the black people bullied me for the way I talked, the way I dressed, and how I acted. Sometimes that's just what kids do. Now, does it make it right? Obviously not. I don't think anybody should be bullied. I don't think anybody should be exiled just for thinking or acting a certain type of way. But that's just what happens. And it's not exclusive to black people. It might be that you are around a lot of people who just see the world one way, because ultimately, I think when people are kids, they only know what they are taught. So if growing up, you see everybody who's cool and accepted as having Jordans, dressing a certain type of way, listening to a certain type of music, that's how you're going to think. And if you come from a background of people who think differently than that, that's how you'll think as well. I think the older most people get, they realize that that way of thinking is kind of dumb to exile somebody else because of the way they think. But some people don't. And do you know what you should do to people who think like that? You shouldn't talk to them because they're not in your tribe at all. No matter what you do, there's always going to be people who disagree with it, There's always gonna be people who don't like the way you think and act and go about life. And honestly, I feel like that's the beauty of life, because we're all different. But I wouldn't go as far as to generalize a whole race based off of a few people. Because if I did the same things that the guy in the video said he did, I wouldn't have met my best friends. Now, all of my best friends are black. I have white people that I'm cordial with too, but imagine if I took that experience of getting made fun of from black people and seeing my friends and being like, oh no, we can't be friends. No black people like me. Another interesting thing that I saw him say in the video is that he felt like he wasn't cool because he didn't conform to these standards.
Black people have this standard that if you're not some street person, you're just not cool at all.
And I remember there was something somebody told me a long time ago. He said, if you look at the richest people in the world, none of them are cool by those standards. Think about somebody like Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg literally wore the exact same thing every single day. Or Jeff Bezos, or Elon Musk. None of these people are cool by like rapper standards, if that's what you want to call them. But guess what they all are? They're successful and they're rich, which I think is unanimously cool to everybody. Even when I was younger, I remember my dad saying, hey, if you look at the nerds in your class, those are going to be the bosses one day. Bro, the smartest people in the world are not cool, and some of them are a bit thrown off, but that's a story for another day. I know everybody's opinion on what cool is different, because cool is ultimately a subjective term. But what I've always thought is the coolest is just being true to yourself to the fullest extent and not worrying about other people's opinions towards it. All those people who just conform to a certain style of dress, not because they genuinely like it, but just because they think this is what would get the most attention from other people, I don't find that cool at all. Why? Because they're not authentically being themselves. Whenever somebody could be themselves without worrying for another individual's thinking, I think it's the coolest thing that you could do. I saw another part where he was like, he just didn't understand why people were so influenced by King Von or YoungBoy or somebody like that. And as a person who is from Louisiana, the place where YoungBoy is from, went to school in Baton Rouge, all of that. Bro, people are gonna look up to people who are famous. Why? Because they have achieved something that they want. Do you think these same people will look up to YoungBoy or King Von if they weren't rich and famous? Especially somebody like King Von. Even been proven now that King Von was a serial unaliver. I think most of the time, people don't praise those type of people. But when people accomplish something that people set out to do, or a lot of people would like to do, of course they're going to get praised. Of course people are going to imitate them. And most of the time, if there's somebody that a lot of women like, a lot of the dudes are going to follow. Now, of course, that doesn't mean you have to conform to that, because for every person who likes that, it's a person who doesn't. But you can't choose to focus on the people who do like it and make it the rule for every single person. Speaking of women, that was something else he said about black women, how black women always call him ugly or a loser and basically act like he's not put together.
And when it came to black girls, they were very open and vocal about how they felt about me. And it was always negative. They always told me how ugly I was. They always told me that I was a lame. You know, they told me I was a loser because I didn't wear Jordans. I didn't wear Nikes. I didn't care about Chief Keef or whatever rapper was popular during that time. You know what I mean? Like, it's so brutal because I was just trying to exist as a normal kid.
And even further in this, he tried to say that, you know, I don't care about my clothes. I don't care about my shoes. I only got one pair of shoes. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you're not a materialistic person, if you don't care about your clothes, things of that nature, that's completely fine. But one thing I had to realize as I grew older is that there is a difference between not caring about clothes and not being materialistic and caring about being put together. Because you cannot care about clothes, brand names, designer, things like that, and still look really put together, which ultimately is what everybody should do. I've always equated it to dress how you want to be perceived. Do you want to be perceived as somebody who doesn't care about the way they look? I would hope your answer to that is no. I don't think anybody wants to be perceived as the person who just doesn't care and wants to dress like a hobo. I just don't really feel like that's the reality. Nobody wants to be looked at and be like, oh yeah, that guy doesn't care at all. Like if you're going out in clothes, your clothes don't match, your shoes are super dirty. I mean, unless you're in a position where that's all you got, then you kind of look at yourself and be like, why would I go out and not try to look at least presentable. Now, again, if that's all you could afford, that's all you got, completely different situation. But if you are choosing to go out into the world looking a mess, then you cannot be surprised when people treat you like you look a mess. Even me, like, see, I haven't got a haircut in a while. When people say, hey man, you ain't got a haircut in a while, what's going on? I'm not gonna be mad and be like, oh, black people don't like me. I'm gonna be like, maybe I should get a haircut so I should look a little bit more presentable, or wear a hat. And with the women thing too, bro, one of my favorite quotes is from Naruto. And to simplify it, because it's a little long with it, Itachi said that your perception becomes your reality. If you think that all black girls are not gonna like you, guess what's gonna happen? All black girls aren't gonna like you, because you're gonna have some preconceived notion before you even meet them. And that's probably gonna lead you to not even try. Or if you have a preconceived notion about black dudes, like I said, if I would have based my experiences when I was younger to my later life, I would have never met my best friends. Bro, when I was younger, black girls called me ugly too. And guess what? I have a black girlfriend now. That's just an example of two different types of relationships that I would have never had if I would have just based my experiences off of a very short amount of time. Bro, life is all about finding your tribe, finding the people who accept you, who like you for who you are, and not for a character you portray to be. It's honestly, in my opinion, the most important part about life. Now, if you want to go about your life and say everybody's in this race is like this, which ultimately I want to remind you is pretty much what racism is. Because if you think about it, that's what they do. When they say all black people are criminals, they're basing a small amount of black people and generalizing it to the entire race. And that's not true. We all know that's not true. Or saying all black people are poor, which now is statistically not true. And specifically, there was a point in the video where he said people will call you an Uncle T. When you do the things you're doing and say that a whole race is a certain way, that is what an Uncle T is. So you have to do self-reflection and understand that. Just like I'm not gonna say all white people are racist. There's a small subgroup of them that are, but that doesn't apply to everybody. I've always said when my friends say things like that, like all white people are prejudiced towards us, you have to think, we would have never got out of if there wasn't a few good white people, because they ran the country. So I always take that into account. The last specific part I wanted to touch on in that video was that he said his older brother did not like him because he was different than him.
Like, I'll never forget when my older brother told me that I'm not like him. And he told me that me and him have nothing in common. One time he told me that he felt more close to our cousins, or he felt like our cousin was more of a brother to him than I was. You know, he also said that he felt like his friends were more of a brother to him than I was. And that was brutal for me. At the time, I cared so much. I was deeply affected by that because, I mean, I don't know how many of you out there have an older brother, but for me, for the longest time, I have always looked up to my older brother, but he always rejected me and he always hated me.
Now, obviously, I can't say what happened because I wasn't there. I didn't live his life. And if his older brother did truly not like him just for being different, then that's terrible and I'm feeling for you. But I will say that I honestly find it very hard to believe. And this is why. I too have an older brother and we cannot be more opposite. Everything, the way we dress, music we listen to, everything is different. Even upbringing. I went to public school. He went to a boarding acting school. Interests, TV shows, everything. But guess what? At the end of the day, that's still my brother. I love him, right or wrong. I might not agree or like everything that he likes, but I would never go as far to say I dislike my brother just because of what he likes. So honestly, in my opinion, while I feel like there definitely could be some animosity between y'all two, I feel like it has to be much deeper than what you're trying to present it to be. Because I just can't see that happening. Usually brothers don't just dislike each other because they're different. It doesn't happen like that. Most of the time, especially like when they get older. Now when they're younger, when they're like 10, maybe. But when y'all get to like adult ages, that's usually not the case at all. You know, more than anything from that video, I just hope that people don't follow that way of thinking. Because like I said, if I would have kept that way of thinking, it would have held me back in a lot of different ways in my life. You really have to be open to everybody and realize that everybody is their own individual. Don't base how somebody's gonna act based off of somebody else. And that goes for friendships, relationships, anything. I think relationships is the most common one people do it with. Just because somebody hurt you before does not mean the next person is going to hurt you. Everybody is not the same. Everybody doesn't have the same intention. But you have to be a good judge of character and realizing who you are choosing to create a relationship with. Whether that be friends, you know, romantic, whatever. Even family to a certain extent, because they're not excluded from this. Some family members don't have your best interests at heart, sadly, but it's true. So at a certain point, you're just gonna have to pick your tribe, realize who accepts you, and just be okay with everybody not liking you. That's how you're gonna find peace. I said this quote in another one of my videos a long time ago. You could be at peace with the world and have war with yourself, or have war with yourself and have peace with the world. I'm gonna choose the route that protects my inner peace every single time. That's pretty much all I got for this video. Again, bruh, if anything, bruh, please don't generalize a whole race based off of one experience. Everybody's not the same, we're all different, and that's what makes us all beautiful. But look, before you go,
Bye.